Hello class, this is Nina, your project management instructor and coach. This video contains the schedule network diagram example that we did in class, including the forward pass, the transition from forward to backward pass, and the backward pass. Glue your eyes to the network diagram and glue your ears to my voice. Let's do this. We see that 3 activities are starting right off the bat. As the project starts, they start. These are your activities: A as in alpha, C as in Charlie, and G as in golf. So, automatically, being that we're using the zero method, we know that those activities will have the early start of 0. So, can you guys mute yourselves unless you have a question?
I have a question. What are those figures on top of it?
That's the duration. We have activity A, activity C, and activity G. Those 3 activities start from the very beginning. They have no activity predecessors. No other activities need to finish before these activities start. And they don't need each other in any way. They can start independently. Each of their early start, which is our top left corner, is 0. So let's do activity A. We're always doing forward pass for the entire network diagram first, the top half of each activity. 0 plus 4 equals 4. So early start of 0 plus the duration will give us the early finish, and that's 4. 0 plus 4 is 4. We then go down to C as in Charlie. It has 0 as an early start, plus the duration of 3 gives us an early finish of 3. We go down to G as in golf. Early start of 0 plus the duration of 5 gives us an early finish of 5. Great. So we're moving from left to right within our network diagram. Let's look at activity D as in David. There are 2 activities that have to finish before D can start. Those 2 are activity A and activity C as in Charlie. What does that mean? That means that we have a convergence and we need to pick what is going to be the early start for D. Going forward, we're taking the bigger number. So the early start for activity D is going to be a choice between 4 from A or 3 from C. Since we need both A and C to be done, we know that that number is going to be 4. That the early start for activity D is 4 because we chose 4 as an early finish of activity A. Because if it's day 4 that activity A finishes and day 3 that activity C finishes, we know that D cannot start until both of them are done. So we have to take the bigger number. Going forward, bigger number. 4 plus the duration of D, which is 7, equals 11. That means their early finish for activity D is 11. Great. How about activity B as in Bravo? Okay, how many other activities does activity B have as its predecessor? Only activity C. So B only needs for C to finish for it to start. Therefore, early start is going to be 3 plus its duration of 8 will give us 11. Great. Let's go.
Question.
Yes.
The A and the G, don't they come before B?
Say that again.
The activity A and activity G, don't they come before B? Because they're the same line.
The only activities that follow the arrows, right? The only activities that has to happen that B needs in order for it to start is activity C. Parts of A will be done and parts of G will be done, but B does not need A and G to be done. B needs the C in order to begin. Right? If B is making a sandwich and C is getting the ingredients for sandwich, A is getting paper and G is getting some AC air conditioner, we don't need the air conditioner and we don't need the paper to make a sandwich, but we do need ingredients for the sandwich to make the sandwich. So B only needs C for it to start. C is the predecessor of activity B as in Bravo. Is that clearer?
Yes, thank you.
Of course. So we have the activity B with its early start of 3 plus the duration of 8 gives us 11 as its early finish. Excellent. Let's move to our tricky activity H as in Harry that a few of you got tripped up on. So going forward, we're taking the bigger number. What does that mean? That means we have two predecessors that are needed to finish before H can start. H needs both C and G to finish before it can start. Okay, C has an early finish of 3 and G has an early finish of 5. Can I start activity H on day 3? No, because I need G to be done as well. That's why we're saying the rule, forward pass, at the convergence, take the bigger number. So the earliest that activity H can start is day 5. 5 plus 21, so 5 as its early start, plus 21 as its duration, equals its early finish of 26. Excellent. Let's move to the next activity. Activity E as in echo. Okay, so for activity E, there is only one predecessor, right? So what is its predecessor? D. What is the early finish for D? 11. Great. Early start for E is 11. Plus its duration of 6 gives us early finish of 17. Excellent. One more to go to finish our forward pass. Activity F as in Francisco. So F has two predecessor activities. What does that mean? That means that F needs two activities to be finished before it can start. It needs activity D as in David and B as in Bravo. However, both of them have the early finish of 11, which is a no-brainer. It's the same number. So F is going to be 11. Plus its duration of 12 gives us the early finish of 23. We just did our forward pass. So, backward pass. In order to perform the backward pass, the first thing that we have to do is transition into that backward pass. And how are we going to transition into that backward pass? We have to look at which activities in our network diagram are connected to end. In other words, there are activities that are not a predecessor to any other activities. Why? Because they connect directly to the end. These activities in this specific network diagram that we did today Our activity is E as in Echo, F as in Frank, and H as in Harry. So, where do we start the backward pass now? The bottom half of all of our activities is blank. We look at which one of these three is our critical path activity connected to the end. Which one has the biggest number?
H. That'd be H.
That would be
H.
H. Anybody disagrees? No, because our critical path itself is start, G, H, end, correct? So what we're going to do is we're going to take that number 26, which is our critical path number, the duration, and we're going to put that number in the bottom right corner, which is the late finish, for every activity that ends this network diagram. So E, F, and H will all have the late finish of 26. Why? Because our critical path is 26, let's say, days. Okay, that's the longest this project can take without being delayed. Therefore, the latest finish of every activity connected to end has to be equal to that number. So we have E with a late finish of 26. Let's start the backward pass. 26, which is late finish, minus the duration, which is 6, equals 20. 20 is the late start of activity E. How much float does this activity have? Anybody? How much float does activity E have? The float is the difference between the top and the bottom. We have 9 days of floats, okay? So the difference between the top and the bottom is 9 in this case, okay? All right, let's go down to activity F, as in Frank. We put 26 in the bottom right corner as its late finish. We do minus its duration, which is 12. 26 minus 12 gives us 14. What is the float on this activity? 3. Difference between the top.
Sorry, can you come again? Well, late finish now, right?
Yes. Late finish.
How did we get the 26?
Because we said every activity that's connected to end. So E is connected to the end, F is connected to the end, and H is connected to the end. Every one of those 3 activities that connects to the end will have the late finish equal to your critical path. And your critical path is 26. The longest path, the biggest number in the top right corner that connects to the end is 26. So we take that number and we plug it into the bottom right, which is the late finish of all the activities connected to the end. It can't be 27 because then it's going to take too long. It has to be exactly the same amount as your critical path duration, which is your biggest number in the top right corner of all the activities that are connected to the end. Is that clear?
Clear.
Awesome. So now, moving on to H as in Harry. We have 26 minus its duration, which is 21. To give us the late start, we get 5. Now, What is the difference between the top and the bottom? 0. Why? Because this is our critical path activity and there is no wiggle room. There is no float. There's no slack on activities that are on our critical path. Okay, ready? We keep on now moving just like we did left to right, doing the forward pass. We're continuing in right to left, doing a backward pass. All right, let's look at this activity D as in David. Okay, going backwards, both F as in Frank and E as in Edward are connecting to D because D is the predecessor of both of those. So going backwards, we have a choice of taking 20 or taking 14 backwards. Which one are we going to choose, guys?
14.
14. Why? Because the rule is backward pass, take the smaller number. Forward pass, take the bigger number. Okay? So we're taking 14 going backwards. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Or what was that?
The 14, where is it coming from?
It's coming, there are two activities that D is a predecessor for, E and F. What is the late start of E? 20. What is the late start of F? 14. Out of the 14 and the 20, 14 is the smaller number. Follow the arrows, right? E going backwards connects to D. F going backwards connects to D. We're doing the bottom half, right? So we're looking at the bottom left of E and F and we're saying, okay, E has the late start of 20 and F has the late start of 14. The rule is going backwards, take the smaller number. So we're going to take the 14. So we have 14 as the late finish of activity D as in David. Okay, so if I know what my late finish is and I know what my duration is, I can now calculate my late start for activity D. So 14 minus 7 gives me 7. So I see that there is a difference between the top and the bottom. We have 3 days worth of float on this activity because it's not on our critical path. It has some wiggle room. Okay, let's now look at activity B, as in Bravo. Okay, so we see that the only activity that a B is a predecessor for is F, as in Frank. So going backwards, we're saying, okay, we have 14, so we're going to put 14 in the bottom right corner, which is your late finish. So activity B has to finish no later than day 14, has to finish by day 14 in order for F to be able to start on day 14. So now we're going to figure out what is our late start for activity B. We will take our late finish of 14 minus our duration of 8 and we will get 6. Here as well, we see that there is a 3-day float that activity B has because it's not on a critical path. Excellent. Let's look at, let's say, activity A. Now, activity A is a predecessor to only one other activity. It's activity D. Therefore, it's not much calculation to do. We take the late start from D and we put it as a late finish for A. And then late finish of 7 minus the duration of 4 gives me 3. Difference between the top and the bottom, 3. All right, now we have activity C as in Charlie, the funnest activity of all the activities in this diagram. activity C is necessary for D, B, and H to be done. It's a very important predecessor activity, which means that on the backward pass, we have to take into account the late start of D, the late start of B, and the late start of H to figure out what is the late finish of C. And we know that on the backward pass, the smallest number is the number that we're using. So D has a 7, B has a 6, and H has a 5. Therefore, we will take 5. And 5, which is its late finish, minus its duration of 3, gives us 2 as the late start for activity C. The difference between top and the bottom, 2. There is some float on this activity. Last but not the least, activity G, as in golf. Okay, this activity is predecessor to only one other activity. It's activity H. What is the late start of activity H? It's 5. Okay, therefore, the late finish, the latest this activity can finish by, is by that day, day 5. 5 as a late finish minus its duration of 5 gives us a 0. No difference between top and the bottom. G and H are both our critical path activities with no slack.